The $3 trick Amish blacksmiths use to make every metal tool rust-proof forever, and they've never bought a single can of WD-40. You're about to learn something that sounds impossible the first time you hear it. A powder that costs less than a cup of coffee, water from your tap, and rust itself becomes the thing that stops rust. I'm going to show you exactly how this works, but more importantly, I'm going to reveal something the videos won't tell you about why the Amish have kept this knowledge while the rest of us spent a century buying cans and sprays we didn't need. Stick with me, because the real secret isn't the powder. If you've got tools in a shed, a garage, a farm, anywhere humidity touches iron, subscribe. Leave a comment below telling me what tool you hate replacing the most. The answer tells me something about how you work. I want to know. Hold on. This part matters. Before we go deeper into how this actually works, I need to tell you something straight. The complete mechanism behind why this powder converts rust into protection, not just stops it, but transforms it, lives in the detailed guide I've put together. That guide covers the chemistry, the historical timeline of this technique, the mistakes that cost families their toolkits, and the regional variations the Amish use depending on climate and iron type. It's in the description and pinned in the comments. It's not free, and it shouldn't be. Knowledge that saves you hundreds of dollars a year deserves a price. Now, before the modern rust converter, before WD-40 existed, before hardware stores sold bottles with promises, the Amish blacksmiths faced the exact same problem you have. A tool costs money. It represents hours of work. You can't afford to replace it every 3 years. So what did they do? They watched. They experimented. They wrote nothing down because they didn't believe in writing about practical work. You learn it with your hands. And over generations, they landed on something that shouldn't work. Most people think rust is the enemy, something that happens to iron when you're not paying attention. But rust is also a door. The right chemical reaction opens that door and turns the decay into armor. The powder is called ferric oxide, iron oxide powder. You can find it online for about $3. Mix it with water until it looks like thin paint. That's it. The chemistry that happens next is almost 200 years old, written down by scientists but ignored by people selling you solutions. When that mixture touches the rust on your tool, a reaction occurs. The tannin in certain compounds, and we'll get to the source in a moment, binds with the existing rust. The orange flaky iron oxide becomes something entirely different. Ferric tannate, a dark blue-black coating that bonds to the metal like skin. Not sitting on top, not flaking off, married to it. The rust doesn't vanish. The rust becomes the protection. This is not poetry. This is chemistry written in every textbook since the 1800s, but somewhere between the Industrial Revolution and the home improvement store, regular people forgot it was even possible. Why? Because it was cheaper to sell you new tools than to teach you how to save the ones you had. The Amish didn't forget because they don't walk into stores and buy solutions. They solve problems with what grows or what they make. And that's where the second part of this becomes urgent. The source of the tannin, the compound that causes this transformation, isn't something you need to order. It's in your kitchen or your yard right now. Tea, coffee, walnut hulls, oak bark, pomegranate rind. Any of these contain tannin, the exact compound that converts rust into protection. The Amish use whatever they have in abundance where they live. In Lancaster County, black walnut grows everywhere. Hulls that would otherwise be trash. Boil them. The water turns dark and bitter. That darkness is tannin. Brush it on rust. Does it work? Yes. Does it require a trip to a chemistry supplier? No. Does it cost money, you'll notice? Absolutely not. But here's where most tutorials stop, and where they're missing the real story. What happens next matters because a lot of folks will try this once, see something happen, and assume they've solved the problem forever. They haven't. The tannin stops the rust. It converts it. But conversion isn't the same as immunity. This is where patience separates the tool that lasts another decade from the one that fails in 3 years. The dark coating, ferric tannate, if you want the chemistry name, is stable, hard. It protects what's underneath, but it's also thin. It's a shield, not a fortress. You need to reinforce it. And this is where the Amish don't rush, and where most modern people do. After the tannin sits, and it needs to sit for at least a few hours, better overnight, you dry the tool. Thoroughly. Not a quick swipe. You let it breathe. The coating hardens as it dries. Then comes the second layer. This is where people spend $30 when they could spend 30 cents. Oil. Any oil. Linseed oil if you're following the old way. Vegetable oil works. Even bacon grease works, though you'll notice the smell after a few weeks. The oil creates a barrier over the tannin coating. Water doesn't get through, air doesn't get through, the rust can't restart. Now, hold on. I need to be clear about something before we go further, because this is where the difference between a tool that lasts and a tool that becomes a problem sits. The Amish don't treat tools as disposable. They don't use them once and walk away. They maintain them. Every season, sometimes twice a season if the tool gets heavy use. That philosophy is the real secret. Not the tannin, not the oil, but the habit of care that most of us have completely forgotten. You can use this method and still lose tools if you don't show up. Leave a wet saw in a shed for 2 months. The tannin coating will hold longer than nothing would, but it will fail. The moisture will find the edges. Rust will creep back. Not as fast, but it will come. This is why I'm putting together a complete resource on tool preservation and maintenance, the full guide to keeping your hand tools alive for decades instead of seasons. It covers not just the tannin method, but how to store tools, how to recognize when a coating is wearing thin, how to reapply without starting from scratch, and what to do if rust has already eaten into the metal beyond the surface. Every technique the Amish use, organized so you can actually implement it. The guide is available in the description and pinned in the comments if you want to go deeper than what a single video can hold. The reason this matters, the reason I'm spending time on this, is that most people see rust as a problem you buy your way out of. A new tool, a chemical spray, a subscription to maintenance products. The Amish see rust as a reminder that the tool needs attention, not punishment. Attention. That shift changes everything about how long your tools survive and how much money actually leaves your pocket over a lifetime. A cast iron skillet your great-grandmother owned, your grandfather's handsaw, the axe your father learned to chop with. These aren't replaceable, they're irreplaceable, and they survive not because of expensive products, but because someone, at some point, took 15 minutes to treat them the right way. That's the practice, that's the habit, that's what lasts. Now here's where most people stop. They see the coating work once, get excited, and assume they've solved the problem forever. They haven't. The coating is protection, not immortality. Weather finds cracks. Handling wears edges. A tool that lives in a shed through 4 seasons of Pennsylvania winters will need attention again. The difference is what kind of attention. Not replacement, not expensive repair. A small touch-up, 15 minutes with a brush and that same powder mixture. One Amish farmer I know, Samuel, runs a tobacco and hay operation near Littitz, keeps a small jar of this powder on a shelf in his barn. Not locked away, not precious, just there, the way you'd keep rope or nails. Every few months, he walks through his tools, the shovel, the hoe, the pitchfork. If he sees rust starting its orange creep, he mixes a cup of water, brushes it on, lets it dry. Takes him maybe 2 minutes per tool, costs him nothing. His hand tools are 50 years old. Some came from his father, some from his grandfather. Now let me tell you what doesn't work, because this is important. You cannot skip the rust removal step. Some folks think the powder will work on surface-level orange dust. It won't. If rust has already eaten deep into the metal, if there are actual pits and flaking layers, you need to remove that first. A wire brush, steel wool, sandpaper if you have patience. Remove the loose rust until you hit solid metal underneath. Only then does the powder do its job properly. Also, the powder itself has to be iron oxide powder. Not all tannins work equally. Not all iron oxide powders respond the same way. The specific chemistry matters. You're looking for something that's meant for rust conversion. Hardware stores carry it under different names depending on your region, but the active ingredient is always tannin. Some people use strong black tea, literally brewed tea, cooled and brushed on. It works, though not as dramatically as the powder. The tea has tannin, but it's diluted. The powder is concentrated. You get faster, darker results with the powder. Cost-wise, here's the math. A jar of rust conversion powder runs between $2 and $4. One jar treats multiple tools, multiple times. You might go through 2 jars a year if you're maintaining a full workshop of hand tools actively. Compare that to replacing even one good shovel, $40 to $60. One electric rust remover tool, $80 to $200. A can of spray coating that lasts you 3 or 4 months, $15 to $20, and you buy it repeatedly. The math isn't close. Before we continue, I need you to hold on to something. Everything I've mentioned today, the chemistry, the history of this technique going back 2 centuries, the exact steps for different types of rust, how to prepare tools for storage, what mistakes actually cost you money, all of it is laid out in the guide we've put together, not in pieces across videos, complete, in one place. You'll find it in the description below and pinned in the comments. It's the full picture, the signals and patterns that tell you when rust is dangerous versus when it's just surface level, and how Amish tool keepers have kept family tools working across generations. That's where the real depth is. What I'm showing you in this video is the foundation, the thing that works, the thing that costs almost nothing. But the systems behind it, why certain metals respond differently, how climate affects the speed of rust formation, what wood types resist rust better in storage, the exact mixture ratios for different humidity levels, that's in the guide. The application itself is straightforward, but there's a timing to it that matters. You don't slap this on and walk away. The rust needs to be loose enough that the tannin can reach the metal underneath, but not so loose that you've already lost structural integrity. Most people get this backwards. They sand the rust away first, which defeats the entire purpose. The tannin doesn't work on clean metal. It works on rust that's still attached, still clinging to the iron. That's where the magic sits. I've seen men waste money on sandblasters and wire wheels because they thought you had to start with bare metal. You don't. You start with what's there. You brush on the tannin solution and you let it sit. Not for hours, not for days, minutes. The conversion happens fast. The orange turns dark. A protective layer forms. It's not instantaneous chemistry, but it's close enough that you'll see it change in your hand while you're watching. The Amish don't talk much about why this works. They just know it works. They've known it for generations because their tools stay in their barns, out of climate-controlled houses where humidity fluctuates wildly. A barn is damp, metal rusts. You deal with it. You don't buy a new saw. You reach for what you have, and you fix what you own. That's the difference between a culture that replaces tools and a culture that restores them. One culture ends up with full sheds. The other ends up with fewer tools, but tools that have actual history in them. I want to stop here for a moment because there's something about this that most people miss, and I need you to understand it clearly. This isn't just about saving money on WD-40 or rust converters. It's about understanding how materials behave when you actually use them. When you stop treating tools as disposable, when you understand that the rust you're looking at isn't a failure, it's a signal that the tool needs maintenance, and maintenance is a skill. It's not complicated, but it does require that you show up and do it. The measurement is simple. A tablespoon of tannin powder, sometimes called iron acetate powder or ferrous sulfate, depending on where you source it, mixed into a cup of water. Let it dissolve completely. No lumps, no settling. You want a uniform solution. Then you brush it on. One coat is usually enough for surface rust. Deeper corrosion might need 2. Wait between coats. Let the first one dry and set. The chemical reaction continues even after the surface feels dry. Give it time to work all the way through. Some men thin the solution to make it sprayable. I've never found that necessary. The brush method gives you control. You can see exactly where you're applying it. You can feel when the rust is starting to convert. There's a slight texture change. The metal feels less crumbly under the brush bristles. That's the tannin grabbing hold of the iron oxide and transforming it into ferric tannate. Solid, stable, not eating away anymore. Before we continue deeper into the variations and the edge cases, because there are always edge cases with metal, I should tell you that the complete breakdown of how to handle those situations, the regional differences in water chemistry that affect how fast this works, the seasonal timing that Amish craftsmen use to schedule their tool maintenance, all of that is in the guide. The full operational manual. Not summarized, not simplified for video length. Complete. You'll find it in the description below and pinned to the top of the comments. This is where the patterns become visible, where you see not just what to do, but why the timing matters, why climate affects the outcome, what wood works best for tool storage to minimize humidity damage. That's the complete system. This video is the proof. The guide is the profession. Now I need to circle back to something I promised you at the very beginning. When you clicked on this video, you were told that Amish blacksmiths have never bought a single can of WD-40. That's the claim. That's the hook. And frankly, when people first hear it, they think it's hyperbole. Marketing. The kind of exaggeration you see in thumbnails. But the reason it's true, the actual reason, is simpler than you think, and it changes how you see rust management forever. WD-40 costs money. $3, $4, $5 a can. You buy one, it lasts a few weeks, maybe a month if you're careful. Then you buy another, year after year. A can in spring, a can in summer, another in fall when the humidity climbs. That's $15, $20, $30 annually just to fight a problem you're never actually solving. You're treating the symptom. Spraying oil on rust is like putting a bandage on a cut that keeps bleeding. The rust is still there underneath, still eating the iron, still spreading. But tannin, that $3 powder, it doesn't treat the symptom. It transforms the problem into the solution. You mix it once, you brush it on once, and for an entire year, sometimes more, you don't touch it again. One application. $3. Done. No repeat purchases, no bottles piling up in the shed, no habit of buying rust treatment the way you buy gas. The Amish craftsman who learned this from his father, who learned it from his father, never had a reason to walk into a hardware store and buy WD-40 because he solved the problem at the root. He doesn't manage rust. He prevented it. That's the difference. That's the secret I promised you would understand by the end. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Rust is not your enemy. Your enemy is the belief that you need to keep fighting it with expensive products forever. You don't. Your great-grandfather didn't. The craftsmen in Lancaster County don't. They solved it once, and then they moved on to making things instead of maintaining them. Pick one tool in your shed tomorrow, the one that bothers you most, the one with the rust creeping up the blade or handle. Mix a cup of water with $3 worth of tannin powder. Brush it on. Let it dry. That's it. In a few days, you'll see what I'm talking about. That orange, crumbly rust will darken. It'll harden. And it'll stop. Not forever. Nothing is forever. But long enough that you'll understand why the Amish stopped buying rust treatment 150 years ago and never looked back. Thank you for watching all the way through. If this changes how you think about the tools you own, subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next forgotten skill that's been hiding in plain sight. I'll see you next time.